My name is Bert, and this is the Still Life Podcast. Welcome back to another episode of the Still Life Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Bert. Today was a frustrating day. Started off decent enough. Got to go out and get some fishing in this morning, and did okay. But was looking forward to an interview that I had this afternoon. So came home, got myself prepared for the interview. Left, arrived at the site, went into the interview to find out that somehow I managed to put it in my calendar an hour later than it actually was. So for the first time in my life, I missed an interview, and I am incredibly upset and frustrated with myself. So the remainder of the afternoon, I've just been really irritated and upset with myself for having missed the interview. There is a possibility after they get through the other interviews that I may get another shot. However, I just don't think that's highly likely. That's a pretty big blunder on my part. And, they don't owe that to me at all. So I understand if they don't extend me another opportunity to interview. However, it's just incredibly frustrating. The position that I'm in, trying to find a job and then making that mistake. So it's been not a great afternoon, to say the least. Now, with that said, I'd like to talk a little bit more about yesterday's episode. That was a really big deal, and I was extremely nervous in posting that episode. I sat on it for about 20 or 30 minutes and just really kind of sat and thought, is this the right thing to do? Is this the right time to do this? Should I put myself out there like this? And what it came down to is, yes, I believe with all my heart I made the right decision in speaking how I did on the subject, and also for, not just putting myself out there, but, hopefully shedding some light and some different perspective on the topic itself. And, really, like I said yesterday, if I'm able to even help one person through yesterday's podcast, I will consider it a success. It's something that's been on my heart for a long time, and, I felt like really needed to be discussed in that manner. I have gotten some feedback on the episode from yesterday, very encouraging feedback. So, I'm glad that I did it, and, I hope that, y'all will continue to share it with people that you think need to hear it, and, hopefully it will change some minds and some attitudes about the way we approach mental health and just the way we treat each other in general as human beings. That's something that we can all improve on day in and day out. And honestly, too, I hope that my episode yesterday inspires candid conversation with other people about our own mental health. I work daily to be more transparent with people about what I'm going through, how I'm feeling, and what I'm struggling with. And at the same time, I try to be sincere and really do a better job of listening when I ask others how they're doing and how they're feeling. So, it's a daily thing, one step at a time. Every day's not going to be perfect, but as long as I'm making that effort to improve upon myself and to treat people differently and to listen better, then, that's a win every day. Now, we can't save everyone. We can't fix everyone. We can't heal everyone. But just think, just the simple fact of taking time out of your day to ask someone how they are doing and to get an honest response back, you could be that change. You could be that difference for someone that keeps them fighting for another day. So the next time, you kind of feel yourself like being rushed or not really caring, maybe you should hit the pause button and reconsider and ask someone how they're doing. And again, on the other side of that too, we have to be candid with other people about how we are feeling. And, it's really hard for other people to just know when we need help. So if you're feeling out of sorts, if you're in a slump, if you're in a hole or a rut or a pit or whatever the case is and you're having a hard time, ask for help. Because I promise you, once you start asking for help from people close to you, people that you trust, it gets easier and easier to ask. And not only that, when you have those candid conversations with somebody close to you about what you're going through and what you're feeling, more often than not, it's going to lead to a strengthening of that relationship and the trust and foundation of that relationship. So really, for the most part, it's a win-win. And the other unique thing about this is that, asking someone that maybe you don't know or don't know very well about how they're doing and having that honest conversation and being willing to listen, you can find yourself making new friends, making new connections that you didn't think maybe were possible or that you hadn't considered. So everybody needs a friend sometimes. And sometimes you could be that friend for that person, or they could be that friend for you. So, we need to do our best to keep an open mind, keep our ears open, keep our hearts open, and really just keep the lines of communication open with everybody that we encounter. Because again, you never know when you're going to be the reason that someone decides to live for another day. For me personally, I've made a lot of new connections through the organization that I'm a member of, Merging Vets and Players. It's made up entirely of combat veterans and professional athletes, most of them former. There's a few current professional athletes. But we're able to get together and kind of share our wins and losses and have that team and that family bond like so many of us in the military and in professional sports were accustomed to over our careers. It's been an incredible resource, and it's helped me a lot in times of need, not just as a whole, but the individual members. And really what's great about MVP is even though, we have 6 chapters that meet, different times throughout the week via Zoom or in person, it's not really about those meetings. MVP is the spaces between those meetings where we connect with each other one-on-one and build those bonds and those relationships and work through our difficulties and, celebrate the good things. So, if you are a combat veteran or know a combat veteran or current or professional athlete, I encourage you to let them know about Merging Vets and Players. You can find more information on Merging Vets and Players at vetsandplayers.org. That's vetsandplayers.org. Well, guys, that wraps up today's episode of the Still Life Podcast. As always, thanks so much for joining me today. And for questions, comments, topic ideas, suggestions, or to become a sponsor of the Still Life Podcast, you can reach us, thestilllifepodcast@gmail.com. That's thestilllifepodcast@gmail.com. Again, thanks for joining us today on the Still Life Podcast. We'll talk again soon.